I'm Tarot. We're back for more astrology and tarot and astrology. We're here for Aquarius. Well, isn't Aquarius fun? Isn't Aquarius fun? Looky here. We have Venus wandering into Aquarius. What would that possibly mean? Well, I'm Aquarius rising, so it kind of depends upon the person, but most Aquarian relationships are a bit challenging sometimes. So Aquarius is the one that really likes the a bit over analytical, maybe a bit challenging relationships. So it jumps into the challenging relationship, maybe a bit too much, right? Just to see if they can make it through. So that's kind of a big thing with the Aquarius. Sort of, can I do that? I don't think I can do that. Let me try it anyway. So, and then you jump into a relationship with that. It doesn't go quite as planned. So, yeah, maybe you should have thought more about it, but, you didn't. And that is sort of the definition of the Aquarius relationship, I guess, as far as, a lot of mine. But anyway, so, here we have the Aquarius. Well, Venus in Aquarius. So Venus, a lot of different things Venus brings together. But it brings together in the 5, and the 5 is not a good number, basically, right? So kind of oversimplification. Let's zoom in a little bit more. Kind of an oversimplification, but yeah, the 5 is not a good number. And we have the Venus resting in the 5. Somebody has to sit in the 5 slot. Looks like Venus is going to be it. And the Venus is the bringing together. And as we bring together, we sort of shuffle out some of the negative consequences of the Aquarian relationships. A bit of the, can I do that? I don't think that's possible to have that relationship. Let me go try, and then it doesn't work out. So, we're looking at this as far as Venus and Aquarius, in my opinion. Just my interpretation, obviously, of the cards, since this is my channel. So, being an Aquarius rising with relationships, it's kind of unusual at best, but, bringing together, even if you bring together the factors of Venus and things like that, sometimes bringing together doesn't quite work out. And that is my 2 cents, at least, on the interpretation of the 5 being Venus and Aquarius. Now let's move on to the 6. Now in the 6, we're looking at Mercury within the sign of Aquarius. Now Mercury has sort of come in, and Mercury obviously is the communication planet, the planet of getting the communication done, getting that open communication, getting that communication type of feel. And as we move towards that realm, we still are in the negative, suit of swords here, and we have that communication that may not be the best side of the communication. So when we pull this out and we're doing a reading, not only we kind of looking at the communication side of Aquarius. Aquarius, again, is sort of, let's jump to this particular hobby, let's jump to that particular hobby, let's jump to this relationship, let's jump to that relationship. So it's a bunch of different things. We get bored, we really don't like it anymore, we move on. So one of those things, I think I've had like 10 million hobbies. So and then one of those things, if the hobby is doable, in other words, I can master it in a certain amount of time, let's say like ham radio, for example. So I have an extra class ham radio license, which is the highest that you can get. And I think I got that within like a week, or something like that. It was pretty sick. But anyway, so I just memorized everything. I took all the tests. I got everything done. And then I really never touched ham radio again. I went to a couple of ham radio events and things like that. Speaking of communication, ham radio. But I mean, it's not really popular now, so I wasn't really enthralled with it. I didn't really stick with it a long time. So one of those things where you just sort of go through that, right? And the communication portion of this, it can be sometimes negative. You could have some negative communication. Aquarius doesn't really put up with much crap. So if you try to lie, if you're trying to cheat and a bunch of other things, and Aquarius catches you, you could have that opportunity of the negative communication. It could be you communicate, sort of a bad communication that just keeps going and keeps going. Maybe one of those where you link with a person, you're really not connected with them well, and you really have sort of a clash with them almost immediately type of thing, and it could be one of those factors. So, Mercury sort of sneaking into Aquarius. Here's where we kind of have it. We have it a boat. Could be feel that you're alone with the communication. Could feel that you're not in a group anymore. Maybe you're in a job and you're on a team, but you really can't talk to anybody because nobody can really kind of feel you out or figure out what you're about or things like this. So sometimes you're, have a lot of aloneness in the Aquarian type feel. Anyway, that is Mercury as it sneaks into Aquarius in the negative suit of Swords. And then we have the Seven of Swords, sort of the theft card, right? So the Seven of Swords, we've grabbed it and we've moved along type thing. And again, negative suit, what can you do? But now we have the moon wandering into Aquarius. Now, how does the moon, the intuition, how does that emotion surge or the intuition surge come about, and how do we sort of react to it? And we're going to have that feeling a bit too smug, right? That smug reaction, like, I got away with it. Kind of looking back, smiling. A very smug reaction that we have here in the Seven as we sort of take things along. And that sort of rings true with the moon, with that intuition, with that emotion. Once you have that Aquarius emotion, it could be something to where you think you're ahead of the game, right? Even though there's really nothing to be ahead of in emotion, but being an Aquarius where you master all these things quickly, right? You go into a drawing hobby and you're within like a couple of months, you photorealistic stuff, or you go into ham radio and you get an extra class license in a week, or something like that. It's one of those things to where once you have that emotion there, once that emotion sort of hits, you feel sort of a bit smug, and you come across that way a lot, right? So a lot of interactions that you have with Aquarius, you have that smug feeling. And as well as you take a lot away. So in a lot of times in relationships or interactions or whatnot, you sort of take away things, and that's sort of your goal, right? A lot of interactions with Aquarius is sort of learning what the person's about, figuring out how the person works, and then categorizing them in a particular place. Or, this person is going to be abusive if I was in a relationship with them. This person is not going to be somebody I'd get along with on a long-term scale, so I want to minimize my interactions. So you're constantly overthinking interactions. You look with other signs. It's one of those things where you look with other signs and they don't really have that. A lot of people just relax, enjoy their conversation with somebody, they make a friend, and then they move on with their life. They won't try to grab all of this stuff out of that interaction or overanalyze everything. He had this body language, and speaking of which, this is one of those books, right? The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. This is like this over-analysis. Look how thick this is. It's like an over-analysis of interactions. What was their body language? Where did they put their hands? Who did they look at? How long did they make eye? That's a very Aquarius book. I'm telling you now. If you're an Aquarius, that's a good book, because now you're overthinking interactions. Now you're overthinking social interactions, where you should be, realistically, you should just relax and talk to people. But sometimes Aquarius, you can't. So sometimes Aquarius, you got to go read Robert Greene's book before you interact with people. I'm just saying. Anyway, but that emotional hook or that emotional key in the key of Aquarius. Again, my interpretation. Not going to be everybody's interpretation, but just mine. My channel, my interpretation. Here we go. So that's the Seven, the smug look, the taking things away. Once you get that emotion in there, you want to sort of figure out the situation quickly, because now you're invested. Now you have that emotion in there. Anyway, that is the Seven. And as always, I have the disclaimer that we're still using the original system as far as assigning signs to particular cards of the court. So we have the court cards here. We have the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords sort of encompasses everything about the Aquarius, right? The page that sort of immaturity that a lot of Aquarius, that a lot of us bring into certain situations. Just sort of we're new at this. We're just sort of going to dive in and see what happens. It's something new. Hey, look, it's a shiny object. Hey, look, there's another shiny object. Sort of that feel, right? So that feel, let me play with the sword. Let me be one with the sword. Let me figure it out. Let me master it next week, and then we'll move on to something else. The immaturity a lot of times that Aquarius brings to the situation. But it's also, the Aquarius is also extremely intelligent, learns things excessively quickly. Aquarius is going to be a rock solid marriage partner if you can actually get the person into a marriage. One of those things to where they'll figure out how marriage works. They'll read 75 books on marriage and figure it out, put everything into it, and hopefully not get bored the next week. So, one of those things to where we have the positive, we have the negative, we have the whole Aquarius within the Page of Swords. And the Page of Swords is just having fun, going through life and living life. And that's a lot of Aquarius, right? Aquarius is just going through life and living life, basically. That's one of the key points here to remember about Aquarius. We're just enjoying life. We're going through it and having fun and living it the best that we can. And sometimes there's positive, sometimes there's negative, but once the Aquarius gets to the end of the life and they're old, they've done a lot of stuff. So it's one of those things where they're very full, a very robust life. So I think that's one of the things, when you get there and you look back, what do you see? Do you see a fulfilled life? Do you see a life that you enjoyed and things like that? I think the Page of Swords sort of looks back. He's creating the life that he wants now. So when he gets to be the king or what have you, or gets to be older, he can look back and enjoy the memories, enjoy everything that happened, and just be himself. And that's basically Aquarius, in my opinion. So thank you for joining me so much. And speaking of awesomeness, did you know I had a Patreon? That's where you can give me a couple of bucks and help the cause. The cause being, I want to teach you Lenormand and Kipper and Solabuska and tarot and astrology, and make some tarot cards and maybe some Lenormand cards and oracle cards and all of this stuff that goes onto the channel. This channel is action-packed. This is action-packed. Why? Because we Aquarius boys. Anyway, Aquarius rising. Thank you very much. Virgo and Aquarius rising. Such a weird combo. Oh well. That's overworked. Anyway, the Patreon supporters that I currently have, if you'd like to join them, link in the description where you can throw a couple of bucks my way for all of my various ventures on this channel. Current supporters are Adam G, Alley Cat, Annie LeMaster, Astro Corey, Brianna Santiago, Carmen Gabriano, Carolyn Bouchard, Crystal McGinn, Fatima, Galatia 9, Gary Fink, Hot Chocolate, Irina, Jessica Mante, Kim Wilson, KSW, La Ami, Richard Z, Shintaro Kuga, and Sanai Zamora. Thank you so much for being my supporters. I love you all. And please hit like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.